After the launch of Destiny and the Vault of Glass raid had finally released, it would be a massive understatement to say that the players were unprepared for the difficulty and the complexity of this brand new first-person 6-man raid activity. Up until the launch of the Vault of Glass, players have been coasting through the game's very simple and easy story campaign and patrol missions, only ever facing a real challenge in the game's high-level Nightfall strikes. So when the Vault of Glass raid went live 7 days after the game's release, players were likely expecting nothing more than a 6-player strike where Bungie increased the health, damage output, and volume of enemies on the screen. What players got though was a well-crafted, all-out adventure full of mystery, puzzles, and unexpected challenges and mechanics. After destroying the Blackheart inside of the Black Garden, the Vanguard rallied a 6-man team to invade the depths of Venus and put a stop to the Vex Collective's time-spanning operations for good. At the time before release, Bungie said the Vault was to be their most challenging experience that they'd ever created, and that players who completed it would earn Destiny's ultimate rewards. They went on to say, it's a raid that will take hours to complete. Even one of the devs said that the entrance alone took his team 45 minutes to crack. Bungie was really talking up this raid's difficulty, and they were very confident in themselves. But players were also very confident in their own abilities. You see, us gamers, we're pretty cocky individuals, and most of us scoffed at the thought that this raid could take hours to complete. So early on into day 1 of the raid, gamers were feeling pretty good about themselves as most teams got the door to the vault open under 45 minutes.
Beam, we got it.
There you go.
It's opening.
Move up top,
Opening.
guys. Move up top.
45 minutes, my ass.
Everybody back up top.
It's opening.
Fair enough though, holding down 3 plates and killing Minotaurs wasn't exactly the hardest thing in the world. But this confidence would slowly turn to intimidation because nobody could have imagined what was to come next. After descending deeper inside the vault, players make their way to the first of 3 encounters inside the massive Templar room. It's here where players are met with the first real raid encounter that had players asking questions. Questions like, how do we drop this guy's shield? What is this pool of light? What the hell is this green stuff? Having players pose these questions was the first excellent way Bungie introduced us to the mechanics. The mechanics were very visual. You could see the shield around the Templar and see that he was immune. You could see the massive pool of light at the bottom of the stairs, clearly making it seem imperative to the fight. You could see the green pools after killing certain enemies. Bungie had laid out the dots. Now all that was left was to connect them. This is the simple genius of Destiny's raid design, and early on, Vault of Glass showed it off very well. After learning that the green pools were toxic and could be cleansed by this massive pool of light, for now it was just a matter of defending confluxes for the next few minutes. A mechanic that is a bit drug out if I'm being honest, but for the first raid, I realized Bungie was just trying to ease players into the really challenging stuff. Not to say these confluxes weren't difficult though, merely staying alive was extremely tough during the confluxes. So tough in fact that eventually we came up with a strategy where we would go and hide off the side of the arena on small ledges just so we could avoid fighting the legions. There's something very haunting about the way the oracles spawn.
Somehow.
Whoa, what is that?
What the fuck was that?
What the crap are these?
Left.
Get
Or
back.
left and right. I'm just getting
Guys,
held
just shoot
back.
as soon as you see it. You have to shoot as soon as you see it.
What is it?
The first time you see the oracles, they appear for just a split second, pinging each of their locations all around you. Hearing their spawn for the first time sends a panic inside you because you already feel completely lost and unprepared for what these devil cubes potentially mean. There is 7 waves of these oracles, with more oracles spawning with each successive wave. This encounter is once again a bit drug out, and it was extremely difficult to clear at the time. Most teams' initial strategy was to split up entirely at all times, so somebody would have eyes on any potential oracle spawn. The difficulty arose though because being isolated and not grouped up as a team meant slaying and staying alive was much more difficult. So eventually we would come up with more solid strategies, especially this one. But now, on to the main course, the first raid boss Destiny players had ever faced, the Templar. This fight was when players realized that this Vault of Glass raid was more than we ever imagined. It was no joke. and Bungie wasn't messing around. The Templar fight is one of the best boss fights in Destiny. Its mechanics are a culmination of all the previous mechanics introduced to us so far in the raid, with exception of the Relic. Ultimately, the most optimal way to take this guy down is to prevent his teleports, because every subsequent time you drop his shield, he drops detainment shields on you, leaving your DPS window to be even shorter. Bungie even rewards you for flawlessly preventing his teleports by granting your team with an extra hidden chest. After a number of hours, many players would give up at the Templar, but those who prevailed were rewarded with some of the best loot players could ever imagine at the time. Things like the Found Verdict, the full auto powerhouse shotgun, Praetus Revenge, probably the best low impact 6-round no recoil sniper rifle, or if you were lucky enough, the ever godly Fatebringer. This gun alone kept people playing Destiny week after week for almost an entire year. People would save a Templar checkpoint every single week to chase this hand cannon. After killing the Templar and checking out your new weapons or looking at 2 more shards added to your inventory, it was time to descend even further into the vault. Now you could go the obvious route through the massive door behind the Templar spawn, but if you were a real guy, you would go through the secret pathway to the left of the arena. This hidden path is one of the many things that make the Vault of Glass special. This hidden path was just one of many, and it's a great way Bungie has created a sense of mystery and intrigue that had players continually searching for hidden things in the vault for many years to come. Not only was this hidden path so much cooler than the obvious way, it also led directly to a hidden exotic chest at the very bottom. The most infamous exotic chest of all time. The one that people save checkpoints for every single week to have their entire friends list hop in, open a chest, get a Galahorn maybe, and hop out. This would happen every single week for so many players. People who didn't have time to raid 3 times a week, or maybe raid at all, friends could help each other out with at least a chance for a great exotic. Things like this were those you had to be there moments, Luke Smith. Not anything found in D2.
Just as that. All right, let's go ahead and get our ascendant energies, guys.
All right, ready?
A cloak.
I got a cloak too, and I got a legend. What did I get?
Holy shit.
Oh shit! I got an exotic auto rifle.
Yeah, he does.
Oh fuck.
Be sure to keep checking our back.
Run left, run left, run left.
Oh shit. Oh, he's fucking Die! We're done, guys. That was awesome.
The genius behind the Gorgon maze is that it goes against every obvious instinct of any Destiny player. That instinct being to just shoot everything in front of you. That strategy does not work here. Players quickly found out that shooting at Gorgon did just about nothing, barely making a dent in its health. Instead, players would have to completely sneak past a full maze of Gorgons that, if they spotted you, would begin a few-second countdown to wipe your entire team. Early on, this took many teams quite a while because avoiding detection and navigating a maze proved to be very challenging in a first-person shooter. It just didn't seem natural. Throughout time though, ultimate routes were perfected to avoid detection and completed in no time. But props to Bungie for this excellent encounter. It will remain as one of the most memorable in raiding history. After getting past the Gorgons, we finally encounter the jumping puzzle from the trailers. The great part about jumping puzzles in the raids is it's again another great change of pace from a highly tense encounter just before. It's a great way to get everyone relaxed and having fun again before entering another few hours of banging your head against the wall. Although there are some people out there that just cannot do platforming for the life of them, and they will hold everyone up for far too long. At moments like these, you just wish they could hand you their controller so you could hop through the jumping puzzle for them, so your team could finally move on. What a final boss room reveal. This is definitely one of the most beautiful designs Bungie has ever created in Destiny. The Vault of Glass is so unique, mysterious, and truly a work of art both mechanically and aesthetically. Now begins part 1 of the Atheon fight, which means navigating Vex time gates, defeating gatekeepers, collecting relics, and ultimately summoning Atheon. Part 1 of the Atheon fight familiarized players with time warping and more relic use. One of the legitimately awesome parts of this fight is when each portal is being covered by a guy with a relic and just slamming those minotaurs. Meanwhile, everybody is just slaying as fast as possible to defend the main conflux. This continues to be one of the most underrated encounters of the Vault of Glass, and I feel like it's been forgotten, which is a shame because it might be the best part of the Vault of Glass. It's such a great encounter. But moving on to Atheon, without a doubt Atheon still stands as one of the best Bungie raid bosses of all time. At the time, for sure, Atheon's mechanics were the toughest we'd ever seen, and while by today's standards don't compare to the complexity of something like Riven, they still hold up as a reasonable challenge. But one thing is for sure, it was most definitely very challenging in its first few months. Some people didn't complete this fight for weeks because of its difficulty, but those who did the impossible and slayed this glass minotaur were rewarded with the greatest sense of accomplishment and some pretty kick-ass loot. Vault of Glass was unlike anything most gamers had ever experienced at the time, which is why it has stuck with people for so long. While I don't believe it's the best raid Bungie has designed, I believe this raid experience is truly a masterpiece, full of so many perfect elements that blend complete awe, wonder, and challenge. It's where I really learned how to work as a team and master fluid synergy in both gameplay and communication. And I will just always have such a fondness and nostalgia for this raid. In my first completion of the raid, I got the ultimate loadout that I used for many months afterwards. Vision of Confluence, Found Verdict, and my first ever exotic, Gallahorn. At the time, I didn't even know what Gallahorn was, and my raid team basically crucified me for it. I ran this loadout for so long, as Vision was easily the best scout in the game at the time, Found Verdict was arguably the best shotgun, and Gallahorn, well, you know, it's fucking Gallahorn.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I got fucking Gallahorn! I got the Gallahorn! Oh my god, I got fucking Gallahorn! Oh my god, look at my heavy weapon now! Oh my god, I got the fucking Gallahorn! I got fucking Gallahorn! Oh my god! Oh my fucking god! Oh my god, I got Gallahorn! Oh my god!
Bungie definitely left an incredible first impression on the player base with the Vault of Glass, proving that they could create some seriously unrivaled gaming experiences. Vault of Glass is what solidified Destiny as something more than just the lackluster campaign missions. And ultimately, raiding is what I believe kept so many people engaged with the game and coming back for more. And Bungie never seemed to disappoint with their raids. Well, I guess actually that might be debatable. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this one. Vault of Glass will forever be one of my favorite gaming experiences, and I will always look back at it in such a positive light. What about you guys though? What's your favorite memory with this raid? Choosing Atheon or Templar off the map maybe? Let me know in the comments below, guys. Subscribe for more Destiny nostalgia, and I will see you in my next video.